মেকআপ অনেক ভারী কার
When measuring along the curve, the tape should be on its edge, unless otherwise specified. For flat felled seams, measure to the center point between the fell stitch lines, unless otherwise indicated. For true flatlock seams, measure to the center point between the flatlock stitch lines. When measuring heavy fabrics, lay the seams with the bulk away from the edges. Welt pocket height is always measured from welt pocket opening to the seam. For double welts, measure from seam to seam, no matter what the orientation of the pocket. To create an imaginary line, place a ruler or tape measure from point to point. HPS, high point of shoulder, is the highest point of the shoulder at the natural fold.
When measuring suiting, lay the garment flat. Center front buttons must be closed. Ensure that the center front overlap meets the designated spec if applicable. Turn the collar up and smooth out the upper body to remove all fold lines and creases. Woven guidelines. Woven circumferences are double measurements unless the tech pack specifies differently. Starting spring 18, woven garment widths will be measured on the half to align with knits and sweaters. Placement of all sewn-on details are measured from seams whenever possible. On woven garments, the shoulder width is taken at the back of the garment. Hood measurements are double measurements. Starting spring 18, the hood measurement will be measured on the half to align with knits and sweaters. Hood openings are measured to front edge of hood whenever possible. Hips on pants and skirts are 3-point measurement. Hips on tops, dresses and one-pieces are 2-point measurements. Woven measurements are generally along the curve. If garment has bust dart shaping, move fullness below bust point. If garment is bias cut, smooth along both grain lines of fabric to achieve 90 degrees at grain intersection. Knit guidelines. Knit circumferences are half measurements. If the points of measurement for the neck width is listed as seam to seam, then all other points of measurements given from the high point shoulder are to be measured from the seam. If the point of measurement for the neck width is listed as edge to edge, then all other points of measurements given from the high point shoulder are to be measured from the edge. The shoulder width is taken from the front of the garment. Hips are 2-point measurements. Bottom measurements are taken from the top of waistband. Knit measurements are generally straight, 2-point measurements rather than along the curve. When measuring the armhole, the side seam should be flattened out to recover the armhole shape. Kids and babies snug fitting sleep-in guidelines. All measurements are full measurements. All CPSC required measurements are designated with a CPSC in capital letters in front of the point of measurement description. All CPSC measurements are to be taken on the front of the garment. Bottom opening short 1007 is not considered a CPSC critical measurement, except when 1 inch down from bottom of crotch is below the bottom of the leg. Sleeve opening short 1012 is not considered a CPSC critical measurement, except when point D of upper arm 1011 fall below the bottom of the sleeve.